Welcome to Next Steps, conversations to help you achieve your potential. My name is Stephen Bouchon, and I began these conversations to make a positive impact in the world by helping people achieve their potential. One of the questions that I frequently get, either from the comments that people have left or conversations I've had with people around this, is how to go about making a change of direction in life. Most of the time it deals with, how do I change jobs? How do I make a change of direction of jobs? So for example, let's say I'm in finance and I want to get into marketing, or let's say change of industries, in the automotive industry and I want to get into entertainment. Okay. The same concepts and the things we'll talk about today applies to other parts of life as well. Imagine that you're a company and you're going down one direction and you want to pivot to another direction. So again, there are different applications for this. The reason it's important to think about and talk about it a little differently than just sort of an evolution or promotion within is that you're making a shift, a fundamental shift, and often you're going to have to make the bridge for other people to understand why this makes sense to do. So as a reinventalist, and it's a word that I came up with to really coin the phrase of somebody who makes fundamental changes in direction and shifts in their life to accomplish a purpose. I've done this multiple times throughout my career. I trained as an engineer, started in automotive, designing cars, running projects, doing strategy, decided to get an MBA, came out of that, I was a consultant, I was a professor, moved into the entertainment industry, and so I've just been and have grown up every functional area within a company, worked around the world. So I've had to reinvent and rethink what my next steps were multiple times. And I've done that because it's been something that has, helped me achieve what my larger purpose was while always, honoring the different values that I have. So today I want to take a look at, and I want to talk with you about making these big changes. Often when I'm working with mentees or with clients, it's a foundational part of what we're doing. A lot of people, when we're talking, that's what they want to do. So we're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about a few different tools or ways of thinking, sort of things to think about that can help you, I hope, think about your next steps and a fundamental change in direction of what you want to do. Doesn't need to be a massive change. If it's just an evolution, like how do I get a promotion? How do I get to the next level? How do I get to the next step? A lot of the same thought process works. We're going to explore sort of two situations when thinking about the change in direction makes sense. So one is there's a role available, and it's either in an industry or you don't know yet, and you want to position yourself for that role, okay? To have the conversations, to meet the people in that role. The other part is when you don't know of a specific role, and this happened to me quite a bit. I didn't know what I wanted to do next. I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. But you want to make sure you're prepared to take advantage of opportunities that might present themselves and eventually architect or engineer that change of direction. So let's say that a role is open, and it's not just a promotion, although this can, like I said, this can apply there. So one of the key things is there's sort of like table stakes, the basic things you need to have. You need to have a killer resume. You need to have tried to make contacts and network, get to know people, have conversations with people in the new role, in the new function. That needs to happen anyway for any job. Very rarely will things just happen to you that you haven't actually taken an active part in making happen. However, there are some things as you're going and thinking about a change of direction that you need to keep in mind. One of the first ones is to be ready for the person in front of you to not see the connection, to not be able to bridge the gap from where you are to what they're looking for. So you're going to have to help them. This is often a hiring myopia. Often when we put together job descriptions, they're based upon what we think is needed for the role as a hiring manager. And often it's based upon who is in the role or our narrow view of what's needed. So you need to understand that if you're coming in and you don't fit exactly what's in that description, you've got some heavy lifting to do, and we'll talk about storytelling, to actually make the person who's hiring or that you're talking to think of you as a possibility or as the best candidate for the role. So it's about building that bridge for them. Talked about storytelling. You'll have to make a compelling story, okay? And what that often does is explains and helps build that bridge, as I mentioned earlier, explains how all you are and everything you've done, all your experiences, everything you're carrying in that backpack of your life, okay, is going to help achieve not only the function that's in the role, but sort of the unstated future functions of that role. You're going to have to show similarities between your current context, your historical context, and the context of the new position or new role. And we'll get into some ways of doing this. Citing real examples. It's really important, and that's one of the things we'll dive into deeply, is about thinking about what are real examples that demonstrate your competencies rather than your job titles that you've had. You'll have to project. You'll have to be able to extrapolate what you've done to a new space. And it's often important to be able to have a logical, understandable, compelling story that's why you're the right person at this time and why you want to do this at this time. So it's work. It's a lot of work, and it requires you to dig deep into yourself, to understand yourself, your competencies, your motivations, what's there, what you're trying to accomplish. And also it's going to force you to do research on the role, on the company, on the industry, so that you're prepared to help somebody bridge the gap that might exist between where they see you today and what they're looking for. So it's not a straight line process, but we're going to touch on the following. Okay, and I'll go into them in a little more detail. The first one is creating your growth roadmap. We talked a little bit about this before, and we'll talk about it in a little bit as well. Identifying what's important in the targeted role and space. A self-analysis and functional or competency analysis of you. What do you, I talked about the backpack. What do you have in your backpack that makes sense to take along with you on this trip to the new role? A mapping of connecting the dots, if you will, between your current context and the future context, and then telling the story. So I'm going to go through some templates right now. These templates are going to be available on my website in the resources section at www.bouchongmedia.com. And give it a try. Okay, and take a look at using these as we go through. So the first one I'm going to talk about is your growth roadmap. So let me pull this down. So when I think about your growth roadmap, we talked about this a little bit in a different video. It's really thinking about where do you want to get to, or knowing where you want to get to, and then backing up and thinking of the milestones to get there. So when I think of the growth roadmap, it brings together a couple of things. It brings together first your purpose and your values. Okay, understanding what your purpose is, and I direct you to take a look at the video about purpose. Your purpose are I guess it's really the why behind what you want to accomplish. The things that that you want to live with intention. So take a look at that, and then think about and write and come up with and think about what your purpose is. Your values are, as I mentioned in a video about values, those are those things that are important to you. They're really important to be present. They give you energy. They help give you a sense. They contribute to your sense of direction. In fact, purpose plus values can often be used as a compass. Your own personal compass to help guide you on the journey you're going to go on. And then bringing together purpose and values and what you want to achieve. And achievement can come from a lot of different places, but that creates your vision. So if you think about your vision, your purpose, and your values, those coming together are important for you to understand. And then if you see what your vision is, so that very future-focused place that you want to get to, thinking back the milestones to get there, what it's going to take, and I talked about this in a previous video, and you can look on my website for my roadmap, and you see my milestones were every decade. I listed out what I wanted to achieve, what I wanted that decade to bring to me to help unfold and unlock opportunities for the following decade. So for me, those milestones actually helps outline the roadmap. And the reason it's a roadmap, and I liken career life planning, getting to your vision. I liken it to setting up a vacation. I've talked about this in the past as well, that you want to get to a certain place for your vacation, and let's say it's going to be a road trip, and you map out the places you want to stop and spend the night, spend some time. But then you're halfway through and you get to this place and you stop there, and there's so much more to see that you want to spend a little more time. So again, the roadmap allows you to not be so structured that you have to do this by this date, by this date, by this date, but it allows you to get there and say, hey, you know what? This is kind of cool. I want to stay here for a bit. Or I got here, I don't want to go take this path anymore. I want to take this other path. So thinking about your growth roadmap, it's about identifying where you want to get to loosely and describing it, but leaving yourself open to making changes along the way. Okay, so that's the first thing I recommend you look at is the growth roadmap. The second thing is what's important in the target role. Okay, so to understand what's important at that place you want to get to. Remember to click subscribe to be notified when part 2 of this video is available, and to be notified when new conversations to help you achieve your potential are uploaded. Thank you.